Hello, welcome back. So previous video ended up with this in-class exercise. Um, so I'm going to uh, do it with you one more time. I don't know if you tried it or not, but this is a relatively straightforward example. So first we are going to read in the time in seconds. And then we are going to convert the seconds into minutes and seconds, right? So let's try. Okay, so we have in class exercise number 4. Okay, so what we were asked to do was to read in time in seconds. So step 1, read in time in seconds, right? So, okay, so we have seconds. We'll ask the input. Please input time in seconds and press enter. Okay, and step 2, convert the time into minutes and seconds, right? So this was, yeah, so we convert and then we'll display result. So this will be step 3. Okay, so we read in the time in seconds and then remember to convert it to numerical value. So here, actually, since this is time in seconds, one could argue that the seconds cannot be a floating point, literal. It can only be integers, like 1 second, 2 seconds, so there is no such thing as 1.5 seconds. So although I tend to agree, seconds could be integers in most of the times. There may be some times that there is a millisecond. Although it's a small possibility, I'm not taking my chances here. So I'm going to be relatively cautious and allow the user to enter, for instance, 200.5 seconds. Okay, that's why I'm using float. But you could have used, for instance, instead of float, int. But then the problem would be when the user enters 200.5, then this conversion will be problematic. So I'm not taking anything chances. I'm going to convert it to float, and then I'm going to readjust the seconds into my minutes calculation. Okay. So now we are going to convert, for instance, 200 seconds into 3 minutes and 20 remaining seconds. So minutes will be, so I have the seconds, let's say this is 200. I'm going to integer division this by 60 because 200 divided by 60, an integer division is going to give me the integer version. But since this is seconds is in float, what I'll get is 0.0 because that's an integer division. But since one of these two numbers that we use, the seconds in particular, is float. So I'm going to do my conversion to integer over here because I know for a fact that minutes cannot have decimals here, right? So I'm going to do my conversion here, and then the remaining seconds, remaining. You can do underscore. You can do capital S. So this is going to be the remainder operation, right? So for instance, 200 remainder 60. If you divide it to 60, the remainder will be 20. And then I'll display the result. So the total seconds is, let's say this would be the seconds, equals to total seconds of, for instance, 200 equals to 3 minutes, for instance, 3 year minutes, and here I have 20 or remaining seconds, right? And then text seconds. Total of 200 seconds equal to 3 minutes and 20 seconds, something like this, okay? So let me run this. Please input, let's input 200. Total of 200 seconds equal to 3 minutes and 20 seconds, right? So let's see it on paper. Reading codes in this in this module is really important, because in the exam I'm going to ask you to read certain codes and then explain what the code actually does. So that's why I have the practice as well as the code reading on paper present in the lectures. So let's try to read what we have. So we have an input. Please input time in seconds and press enter. So here you are going to see that the input is converted to float in the same line. So how we did it here, we did it into 2 different lines, right? But you could have just used a single line and does the job in 1 line. So either this, just 1 line float input, or after inputting, you can do it in another line. So these 2 are equivalent. So this is fine, okay? And then step 2, convert the time in seconds. So I have the integer division and then the integer conversion, and then the remainder operation here, and then I display the result. So this seconds equals to 3 minutes and seconds, okay? Okay, so let's do a review. So what is the value stored in count? Count equals 7 by 3. Again, you can stop the video and think about yourself, or just give the answer right away. I'll tell you the answer. The answer is, yep, you guessed it right, 2.33. Okay, this was simple. Now it's getting complicated. What is the value stored in text? Test. We have the remainder operation. So the answer is A, 1. Yeah. Okay. We have an integer division. What is the value stored in count? We have 2 integers, that's important, and an integer division. So it's no longer 2.33, it's 2 now, because of this. So it's an integer division. So what is the value stored in test? So we have an integer division, okay? But this guy is float. So 7.5 integer division 3 going to be, so the true answer is 2.5, but since it's an integer division, we are going to scrap the 0.5. So it's actually 2.5, but due to the integer division thing, it's only the whole part of 2.5, which is 2. But since this is float, the answer is also float. Although it doesn't make it 2.5, it is 2, but 2.0. So the answer is this one. So this one is a bit tricky. All right, so we have a couple of mathematical operations. So POW is a power operation. So POW AB, so think of it, so this is another function or method. Think of it as like an input or like a print statement, okay? So this is another POW, P-O-W, that stands for power. So it goes A to the power B. In mathematical terms, it's P-O-W, A comma B, okay? So that's the same thing. So we have print POW 2 comma 3, 2 to the power 3, that's 8, 4 to the power 0.5. So yeah, don't mind the semicolons here. So this is 4 to the 1/2, that's equal to square root of 4, and that's 2. But since this is float, it's going to be 2.0. So 2.5 to the power 2, that is 625. And 2.5 minus 2 is going to be 1 over 2.5 to the power 2. That is 1 divided by 6.25, and it's 0.16. Okay. Okay, so arithmetic operations, sometimes it is straightforward. For instance, if you have a plus, there you go, you also have a plus in computers. But sometimes, for instance, 4x, that goes without saying, it's a multiplication, right? 4 times x. Here you have to write the star, which is the multiplication. So if you write 3 plus 4x, this will be an error, okay? And then you have a division, so like by 5, that is the division operator here. Minus goes as minus. Again here 10, so you don't see the hidden multiplication here, but the computer must see it. If you have like 10y minus 5, that's going to be problematic. Okay, so always write the multiplication even though you don't see it here. Always put them over there. And so be careful about the parentheses. So here we have plus 9 multiply. So again, another hidden multiplication. 4 by x, this is fine. But then we have plus 9 plus x by y, right? So here what usually is the mistake is, so you go by just like you see it here, because there is no parentheses, right? So you sort of mix it, and then you go by 9 plus x divided by y, which is going to be wrong because of the mathematical operations, division comes before addition. So if you do it, what it will be doing is 9 plus x by 5. So that's not always equal to 9 plus x divided by y. Okay? So make sure that you are using the parentheses so that this is going to be executed first. and then you have the division by y. Okay, so this is really important. And then, you know, like mathematical arithmetic rule for evaluating an expression is similar in Python. So you have the inside parentheses, so they are first, and then you have either multiplication or division, doesn't matter. And then after all these are done, then you have addition and subtraction. So first in parentheses, second multiplication, division, and third addition and subtraction. Just like math. And then we have augmented assignment operators. So if you see plus equals, that is actually a specific special symbol. It means that it is an addition. So for instance, if you see I plus equals 8, it is equivalent to I equals I plus 8, which means, in other words, assume I is 2. After this, I will be 10, because what you do is you increment I by 8. So that plus equals is an increment operation. Similar to minus equals, so if you have, for instance, before this minus equals 8, let's say I is 2. After decrementing 8, I will be minus 6. So multiplication, division, similar. Also the remainder operator. So if you're actually puzzled with these symbols, I would suggest you to write down the entire expression. That is I equals I multiplied by 8, so that you know it's going to be multiplied first and then assigned as a new variable. Okay. All right, let's do one final review and we will call it a day. Okay. So we have x equals 5 and then x. So x division equals 2. So what is the value stored in x? So the answer is, so you can actually do it in the hard way. So x equals x divided by 2. And in the previous line, x was 5. So here always, so there is an equal sign, right? Right hand side first. So we have 5 divided by 2. That is 2.5. And then that becomes the left hand side. So the answer is C here. Okay. So what is the value stored in test? So we have test equals 5. And then there is an increment operation. Test plus 1. This is again a bit tricky. I suggest you to write the entire stuff. So you have test equals 5. And then test equals, so let's drop this down. So you have test plus test plus 1. Why? Because it is incremented by this number. So what is this number? So test is 5. So this number is 6. And then what you do is increment test by 6. And that is 5 plus 6, which is, in other words, 11. So the answer is C. So again, a bit tricky, but if you actually take your time and think about it, it is doable. So we have 5, and then I'll just do the rest. So x equals 5, and then you have x equals x integer division 2, right? So again, an equal sign. look at the right hand side first. So we have 5, integer division 2, that is 2, not 2.5, and then that goes to the left hand side, okay? So the answer is 2. Okay, so our second lecture ends now. I'm going to give you a couple of, okay, actually 3 practice questions. I'll just read it out loud and then maybe explain you a bit, and then I am going to leave you to do them as a practice. I hope that you enjoyed the class so far. So I'm going to read the practice questions, and then we are going to end the second lecture. Okay. So write a program that reads in a 2-digit integer. So what is a 2-digit integer? For instance, 15, or like 39, or like 93. Okay. So it has to be 2 digits, and it has to be integer. And then you swap its digits to create a new integer. So for instance, if the user enters 93, you swap 3 and 9, that becomes 39. If the user enters, for instance, 74, the new number will be 47. Okay, so you just change the positions of the numbers. So this is the first exercise. So the second one is, so you are going to write a program that reads numbers for radius and length. So the radius and length from the user to calculate the volume of a cylinder, and then display the value, calculate and display the volume of a cylinder. And how do you calculate the volume? You first calculate the area, and then use the area and calculate, multiply it by length and calculate the volume. Okay. So this is the second exercise. And the third one is to write a program that reads the values of x and y. So again, 2 inputs from the user, and then display the following result. So made it a bit complicated. Maybe not complicated, but a bit cumbersome. So you have y to the power x minus 7. So there are some stuff going on here. So make sure that your parentheses are in line, because if you miss a parenthesis, the answer will be wrong. So after doing this, just to double check whether you did it right, for the values of x equals 10 and y equals 5, because then the answer should be 1 to 6.4. Okay, so that concludes today's lecture. I'm going to just discard, yeah. So thank you for your kind participation. I'm going to write up, yeah. So here is my last word. So thank you. And I hope to see you in the next lecture. Bye.